Hi, good evening, Hawkeyes. My name is Virginia Ibrahimolin. My pronouns are she and hers, and I'm the Director of Housing Administration. And welcome to this evening's webinar of how to select your hall, room, and meal plan for the 2024-25 academic year. As we get started this evening, just a few basic logistics for everyone to be aware of. Number one, now's a great time to adjust your settings. You can test your sound, you can maximize the slides and minimize the presenters. You can also choose to turn on captions if that would be helpful for you. And then we will have questions submitted via the Q&A feature, and those will be answered live at the end of our slideshow. And we'll turn on the Q&A when we are ready to accept your questions. One additional logistic for this evening that is unique to life in the Midwest, and that is if our tornado sirens happen to go off, we will need to end the webinar early. And we understand and are grateful for your patience if that happens to be the safest course of action for us to take this evening. So let's review what we are going to talk about tonight. Our team is here to go provide you with an overview of the housing timeline. We are going to talk about your room selection time slot, discuss our common room types, talk about living learning communities or LLCs, honors housing. We'll give you a step-by-step walkthrough of online room selection. And then at the end, we will have time for those frequently asked questions. And so now I'd like to introduce you all to my colleague, Elliot.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elliot Hale Langner. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a contracts and assignment specialist here with University Housing and Dining. And I've got some information to share with you. This timeline image might look a little familiar to you. It's seen some updates in the last couple of weeks as we've made some adjustments to deadlines and timelines and things like that. But as you know, the application opened January 4th, which feels like it was a long time ago. And then we've done monthly lotteries to assign folks their room selection number. In February, LLC applications started with rolling acceptances happening all the way up until their deadline. March 1st, roommate matching opened. And then last week, May 15th, that was our deadline to submit the housing application to qualify for roommate matching and online room selection. May 22nd, so tomorrow, is the deadline to be registered for orientation, specifically the SOAR section of orientation for that course registration and conversations with staff. Next week, we've got a deadline to apply for ADA and medical accommodations and also to submit those roommate requests. So if you've not confirmed your roommate pairing, please do so by May 29th. And then in June, so the red box is kind of the big stuff coming up. We've got June room selection, so online hall, room, and meal plan selection, which we're going to go over today. And in July, we will have move-in date selection. And I'm not sure where my camera went, but I'm still here with you. And then new student move-in will be August 17 through 19. I just mentioned this, but your room selection time slot is related to your room selection number. The time that we'll use to determine those time slots is Hawkeye time, which is Central Daylight Time. And we want to encourage you to remember that early is relative. More than 4,050 applications were submitted in the month of January 2024. So there's that many folks who received a room selection number who are in the first month. Students who applied for housing after May 15th of 2024 are not issued a room selection number or a room selection time slot, so they will not be participating in online room selection. And then also students who applied for housing by May 15th, but did not register for orientation by May 22nd, tomorrow, are also not going to be issued a time slot for room selection. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Becky.
Alrighty. Hi, everyone. My name is Becky Wilson, and I use she, her pronouns. And I work in residence education, which is the area of housing and dining that works with your day-to-day experiences in the residence halls. So I'm going to cover lots of information here. So the first thing is talking about residence hall selection. We have 10 great residence halls here on campus, and the good news is that first year students can live in all of them. So when you sign on to do your online room selection, the choices of residence halls and floors and rooms will be dependent on the selections of the students that came before you in the selection. And so the choices will vary, but again, all of the residence halls are open to first year students. And then returning students, we want to share some transparency around our process. So our returning students that are living with us for an additional year from the previous year, they were able to select their rooms first. And so they selected their rooms during the spring semester. And a lot of them chose to live in Catlett, Burge, Peterson, Stanley, and Mayflower. And oftentimes they will choose those singles. And so this is our way to be transparent to share where the returning students have already selected their spaces. Moving on, we're going to talk about some construction. And so summer is a time of construction on campus. And so some highlights that we wanted to share today is that Burge is going through another renovation this summer. And so a lot of our living areas were renovated in fall of 2023. And we're continuing to do room finishes and other pieces this summer. In Hillcrest, we are finishing our last round of renovations in Hillcrest, and so all the rooms will be renovated there in fall of 2024 and finishing our additions of study spaces on each floor as well as our common areas. We're also doing some minor construction in all the other residence halls, but outside of the residence halls in Slater, there will be construction adjacent to Slater. So not the actual rooms or the building, but there is some buildings being built behind Slater. But the good news is to know that all of our halls have been renovated within the last 10 years. We have a great facilities team that keeps up to date on our constructions and keeping our halls current. We're going to discuss a little bit about room types, so that way you're aware of what's available when you go in to select your room. So all of our residence halls have air conditioning. And so you're going to find that our most common room types are a double with air. And you can see listed on the screen that those are in Burge, Courier, Dom, Hillcrest, Reno, Slater, and Stanley. Then we have triples with air, so triples with 3 students in the room. And those will be in Burge, Dom, Stanley, and Hillcrest. We have in Mayflower Hall, it's a suite style building. So we have double rooms that will share a kitchen and a bathroom with another 2 students. So it's 4 people to a kitchen and bathroom, but your room is a double. And then we have rooms that are called double with air and pod configuration. And so what that means is those residence halls, those restrooms on their floor are single user restrooms. And so we call those pod style. Moving on to our least common room types. And so these are ones that are very few far in between. Also remembering too that our returning students may have selected them. So sometimes students are interested in having a shared bathroom with their double. Burge has a small amount of suites, but those are pretty limited. We do have some other doubles in our system with bathrooms and air. I just combined those 2 words. And then some singles. And so again, to recognizing that these are our least common types, and then we also have very few triples or quads in Peterson and Catlett. All right, another popular question we always get during residence hall tours and during room selection is restroom types. And so we wanted to share a little bit about what our terms mean, so that way when you're going in to select your room, you understand. So our community style restrooms are when you go into the restroom on the floor, there will be a row of sinks, a row of shower stalls, and then a row of toilets. Each shower and toilet has privacy, there's doors, and so they're each a stall. So it's like when you walk in, you'll see the row of sinks, toilets, and then showers. Those are common in Burge, Courier, Reno, and then the Slater first floor and the Dom first floor. And so those floors are also typically our gendered communities as well. Then the next term that we use often is single user. And so that is typical to a bathroom that you'll see in a hotel or an apartment or a house. And so when you walk in and close the door, it's you with a sink, toilet, and shower. And so each of the residence halls will have a bank of these single user restrooms, typically in the center of their floor. And so you can see those across the other halls that do not have the community style. Terms like shared bath will be when there's two adjoining rooms that are sharing that bathroom. So in Mayflower, again, they'll share the kitchen and the bathroom. And then Burge has a limited amount of rooms that are shared with bath. And then when you see a room that's listed with private, that means that it's within the room that they select. And again, those are very limited. And so it might be a double with a private bath. And now with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Virginia.
Thank you, Maggie. So while tonight's webinar is all about selecting a room, we know that there are going to be a number of Hawkeyes who will be assigned by staff members. And these include students who are joining a living learning community or honors housing. They could be students that may have an ADA accommodation that requires a specific type of room. It also would be a new student who might be paired up with a returning student as a roommate, and they've been working with our team. If you are one of these students and you receive a room selection time slot, we do want you to still log in because you need to select your meal plan, learn about Grad Guard, and then also select your loft configuration. And you'll learn how to do all of those things later on in tonight's webinar. Now, for those of you that are joining a living learning community, we are pre-making your room assignments, and that is to ensure that all of those students who are joining the living learning community are able to live with their preferred roommate. And so our team will pre-assign them. When you log in, you'll see your specific room within your living learning community. And if you decide, you know what, I'd like to change rooms, you would see the potential for room changes after you have completed the other steps. Once again, that's the selecting a meal plan, Grad Guard insurance, and then your bed configuration. So just a quick note for you all. Similarly, for those in honors housing, it's open to those who accepted the offer to live in honors housing. They will have that room assigned for them. Roommate pairs both need to be accepted and offered into honors housing and registered for orientation by the May 22nd deadline to live together. As a note, if you happen to be an honors student and you didn't win the lottery to live with other honor students in Catlett Hall, this is just a gentle reminder to share with you that all honor students live in every one of our residence halls and have done so successfully for a number of years on campus. So I'd like to transition a little bit and talk with you all about room selection expectations. We know that this is a very busy time, and so right now in May, we want you to start to prepare. Attending this webinar is a great first step. The other piece that we need you to do is to really communicate with your desired roommates. We want you to explore multiple buildings and create a plan with 8 to 10 different options. So yes, we want you to see yourself living in almost every one of our buildings because you will be impacted by those who select rooms before you, and you will impact those who select rooms after you. Please familiarize yourself with the various room rates. There is some variation amongst those, and different families have different budgets, so know what yours is. We want you to consider buildings that you might not have visited if you were fortunate to come to campus this spring, and then make yourself available both during or after your time slot. And make sure that you and your roommate have a plan for those room selection logistics, please. Now in June, when it comes time to select your room, stay calm and know that you have a place to live with us on campus. We absolutely have space for every Hawkeye that has applied for housing by the deadline. We ask that you log in with just one device, because if you're logged in on your account on multiple devices, it can impact what you view. It's important to remember that room selection is live and dynamic. The buildings and the room types available are influenced by those who select before you. And if you are in a paired group, we want you to make sure that you assign all of your roommates to the specific room. Please contact our team with full names and university ID numbers if you have questions as you're working through the process. And then make sure that you read your email for official updates from University Housing and Dining. While there may be messages shared on social media, we encourage you to remember that official updates will come from our team to your university email address. And then lastly, we ask that you treat all Hawkeyes, both students and staff that are supporting the process, with respect as you're working through it. So family members who are joining us tonight, number one, welcome to the family, and thank you so much for supporting your Hawkeye. We ask that you allow your student to select their own room. That's important because it's going to be the space that they'll be living in. We also need your assistance in establishing realistic expectations and helping to reframe those expectations when that is needed. We ask that students be the person to initiate contact with University Housing and Dining and ask us if they have questions or concerns. A helpful note for you all, while we are happy to have many proud alumni continuing on the Hawkeye tradition, your parent or your alumni status does not impact your student's room assignment. Also, family members, please watch your email for official updates from Housing and Dining. Again, those family social media channels may have some information, but the official word will come from my team via email. And lastly, families, we also ask that you please role model and treat all Hawkeyes, both our students and our professional staff, with respect throughout the process. You guys follow along on this and things will go quite well. And now Elliot is going to come on back with a step-by-step walkthrough of the process.
All right, everyone. I am back with, like Virginia said, this step-by-step overview. I've broken it up into 3 parts, so hopefully you'll be able to digest it as we go through. So part 1 is getting to the housing portal. It may have been a while since you logged in, so here is a brief reminder of how to get to the housing portal. Sounds like we're having an issue with sound. I can hear it, that's funny, but that's not helpful for you. Give us just a second to do a little troubleshooting and we will be on our way. All right, let me back this up and see if we can scroll through the video. All right, I'm gonna press play again. Let me know if you can hear it, admin team. Of Iowa in housing and dining. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm going to show you.
Well, thank you so much for your patience, folks. While we do a little bit of troubleshooting behind the scenes, sometimes technology is not our friend. And that's why we have a great team who will work together to get this up and running for you. We know that you all have a number of questions about life in the residence halls and about the process of selecting your room. And so what we are going to do is just rearrange the order in which we talk to you all about things, and hopefully we can show you this walkthrough. The other piece that I want to let you all know about is that we will have not only a recording of this webinar, but then also those other videos that Elliot created. We will be messaging and sending those on out to you so you can refer to them later, because we understand that everybody processes information differently. It's a lot to take in, and that you might need to review the information. So again, we thank you so much for your kind patience right now while we pivot, and we will make sure that we can work on getting all of your questions answered. So just one more moment while we look at some pieces.
All right, folks, we came up with a plan. I am going to narrate the video for you since I made it. I'll be happy to share my voice live. So the first step is going to be getting to the housing website, which is housing.uiowa.edu. On that website, you're going to need to navigate to the Living on Campus dropdown, and that dropdown opens a menu and you'll click Apply. Then you'll need to find the 2024-2025 new students tile and click Apply. And then on this page, you might recognize some information like that timeline we just saw. So feel free to read through this information. It does give a good overview of our process, but you're going to want to get to the yellow bar and click the black Apply button to get to the housing portal. And it takes you to the housing portal. You'll need to, in the yellow bar, click Student Login, and you'll enter your credentials there. That's your Hawk ID and password. You might also see a Duo push pop up. Just make sure that you answer that so that you can continue to have access. And that's going to bring you to your home page of the housing portal. Step 2 is how to select your room. This is the longest section and the longest video, so please bear with us as we get through all the steps for room selection. You'll see that my screen looks a little different than your homepage does. That's because I recorded this in a test environment using the Herky Hawkeye profile. So things might look just a touch different, but the general process remains the same. So you're going to start in the yellow bar, and you're going to find where it says Housing Application. And then you're going to click that to get back to the housing application. And that will take you to the application term selector. You need to look for the academic year 2024-25, and you'll click continue to get back into your application. And it should take you to the page you were last on, or the farthest page you've advanced. So you'll see that Herky Hawkeye had reached the thank you page after applying and working through the personal profile and roommate steps. So if you click Save and Continue, it will take you to the next page, which is New Student Online Room Selection Instructions. So this page has a brief overview of how to select a room. So just what the basic steps break down to, and then a couple of notes that you'll want to read. So as much as you might want to rush through, I encourage you to read the information available to you. We've got some expectations of students and families that we just covered in the earlier presentation, but we want you to make sure that you're following those expectations. Once you've read through those, you can click Save and Continue. And that will bring you to room selection. The first step is to select a building. There's some guidelines on selecting with roommates. I'm going to emphasize those as we go along, but also please note that we ask you to be patient with our system. We'll have a lot of users and increased portal activity at one time, so waiting 30 to 60 seconds for available rooms to appear is not uncommon. So we thank you for your patience, but you'll see that we're in housing for academic year 24-25. In this test environment, I have 2 buildings available to me. When you log in, you may have more than 2, but I'm going to pick Slater to see what rooms are available for me as Herky Hawk and my paired roommate, New Hawkeye. So the rooms list will show you all of the spaces available in that particular residence hall. You'll see on the left there where I was kind of moving my mouse, there are different ways to sort. Sometimes you'll see lots of options for sorting. Sometimes you won't see very many, and that's okay. But the first step is to look at the spaces and see what's available and decide what's of interest to you. If living on a really high up floor is definitely on your list, you could sort to see just that floor, or you could sort to just see the second floor or third floor. Here, what's available is second or third floor. And there's quite a bit of information in these rectangles. First is a small image of a floor plan of the room to give you a sense of how you could potentially lay it out. And then you'll see this little bed icon with the number 2, or 3, or 4, or 1. That indicates how many beds are in the room. That does not tell you how many beds are open. It just tells you how many are in the room to begin with. You have to look a little bit farther down to see spaces available in room. It's important to see how many spaces are available if you're in a roommate group, because you want to make sure you're picking a room that has room for both you and your roommate. You'll also see in those bullet points in the middle, there are some important notes that you don't want to overlook, such as this room overlooks construction on a new university building. So that's an important note that might impact your experience, depending on, if you're a super light sleeper or something. So maybe you'll pick a room that doesn't overlook the construction area. Once you're ready, you click select a room, and then you'll see up in the right-hand corner, it's a little bit yellow, a little bit gray, but we've got a shopping cart there with a timer. Clicking select room puts the room into your cart. When you're ready, click assign beds. This is another really important page for roommate groups to make sure that everybody gets assigned. So you'll see the first one is my room for Herky the Hawk. You click the drop down and you select from the options. It'll show in a double, it'll show, room 221-1, room 222-2. So I'm not sure why it's not showing on the screen at this particular moment, but that's definitely what I was talking about in the original video. But you've got to make a selection, and that allows you to kind of pick your spot in the room. And then once you've made your selection, you have to scroll down on this page to your roommate or roommates and pick their spot in the room. So again, you can see the room number 334-2. If for some reason you get to this page you're able to assign yourself, and then you get to your roommate and there's no spots available in the room, that means that you picked a room with only one spot available and you need to back up, get the room out of your cart, and start this process over. So assigning yourself and your roommate before you click assign beds is really important. If you do not assign your roommate in that step and you click assign beds, it disallows the option for you to make room changes for your roommate in the future. So you're essentially breaking up your roommate group if you don't assign them in that step. Now I'm just walking through some confirmation pages that you'll see. You'll be able to see who's assigned to the room. And then once you hit the room selection confirmation page, this is where everything starts to be just about you. You've done the part of assigning your roommate. Now it's time to focus on, what's your room, what's the room cost, and then the meal plan, grad guard, and bed loft selection. So that brings us to part 3, the final selections of renter's insurance, meal plan, and bed configuration. And this one will be about 5 minutes long of me talking. So the next page you'll see is there'll be information about Grad Guard. Grad Guard is our partner vendor for renters insurance. So read over the information Grad Guard has to provide and then click continue to next step. And that will take you to the Grad Guard website. So it kind of like pops you out of the portal and then it'll pop you back in once you're done. So read through that information, click the blue button, and the next page will look like this. GradGuard will provide information about renter's insurance, as well as a quote. And that's just a kind of a general quote. You can edit your details, and then you need to click purchase coverage or decline coverage. If you're in a position where you're not sure, like it says on the screen, if renter's insurance is right for you, you can choose some different options. You can say, hey, GradGuard, let me know later. Email me closer to my start date. Or if you know that you're covered under a homeowner's insurance policy, you can select that. Or if you know that you will not be purchasing renter's insurance, which I highly do not recommend this option. Having renter's insurance of some kind is a very good investment, but you can select from the drop down and let GradGuard know you're not interested, which is just fine. You don't have to buy anything from GradGuard here, and then click continue. And it brings you right back to the portal. It tells you what your decision was, but if you're going to reconsider, you can contact GradGuard for more information. And then you get to the next page, which is all about meal plans. And you'll see on here, there are 3 meal plans. Most of you will only be eligible to select black or gold. The Hawkeye meal plan is only for students who live in a building with a kitchen in their room. So not a community kitchen, but the actual kitchen in their room, like Mayflower, and then a handful of spaces over at Hillcrest. So look through those options, decide what's going to be best for you, and know that there's a change period available the first 2 weeks of the semester, and then again at the end of this first semester, you can make a change for second semester. So make your selection, and then you can click save and continue. We're almost to the end. This step is bed configuration. So this is a good time to be in communication with your roommate about what they're planning. But student beds are twin XL, which is 80 inches long, and the default setup for everyone is a high loft, unless you select something else. Or if you're living at Mayflower, the default configuration at Mayflower is Captain. If you're in a triple room or a quad room, those rooms are set up in advance in one specific setting, depending on which you're in, and they cannot be adjusted. So if you are in a triple or quad, in this drop down, there's an option that says, I'm in a triple or quad. I understand my room will be preset for me. Otherwise, you can pick one of the options if you will be living with us and you and your roommate, have discussed, oh, let's both do high captain or do kind of a, one high loft, one high captain, whatever is going to work best for you, knowing that you can change it later if you need to. So you make it to this page, this housing assignment page that says, congrats, Hawkeye, you have completed all room selection steps. You're able to see a booking summary and then an overview, if available, of what the floor plan looks like for your specific floor. You're able to see what meal plan you selected and who is living in the room with you. So if you are in a roommate pair, you'll be looking to confirm that your roommate is in the other space there. If you're an individual person selecting a room, you'll be looking to see, has anyone else selected the other space or spaces in a room? And so that's an opportunity for you to potentially meet and send a message to your new roommates. So I'm not sure what else I was talking about. I apparently had a lot to say about this floor plan, but just know that floor plans are not always available. If we have them, we include them, and we are happy to provide support to students who have questions about that. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and keep this train rolling, and I'm going to pass it on to Becky.
All right, great job, Elliot, working through those tech issues. We greatly appreciate you. So it looks like Virginia and I are going to jump in with some other helpful details to know as you go through this room selection process. And so I'm first going to talk a little bit about some meal plan information that you will need to know. So if we want to go ahead to the next slide, we're going to talk about Market to Go. So this is a program that comes with your meal plan. We call it Market to Go, and they are green boxes that you use for this program. If you've come to a campus visit or when you come this summer, you might see our students using them. And so it is a great convenient option to take your meal to go, hence the name. So when you come in, you'll let the person at the check stand let them know that you're going to do a Market to Go meal. And if you don't have a box yet, they'll give you one. And then you'll be able to take a cup as well to take a beverage to go. Each Market to Go meal is one of your marketplace meals or a flex meal. And so then you'll take your food with you, you'll take it to go. And then when you come back again, you'll either turn it in to get a clean one and do it again. Or if you're going to eat in at that time, you'll turn it in and they'll give you a carabiner clip thing to take with you next time that you'll turn in to get a container. So again, this is a great option for you to take meals as you need if you don't have time to sit in the marketplaces to eat. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about dietary needs. Later on, we'll give you some information about how to access our dietary needs webinar, but we wanted to just share that all of our marketplaces are open to students with any allergies or dietary needs. Our staff on campus are great and they're ready to help you and serve you. So that way you're able to utilize your meal plan to the full potential. So they'll work with you on food allergies, navigating the marketplaces, making a nutritious plate, and also just getting general nutrition education, even if you don't have a dietary need. And so there's a website here that you can also make an appointment with our dietitian on the staff. And then as you select your meal plan this summer, if you have more questions that come up, just let us know. We're always available to help you. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Virginia.
Thanks so much, Becky. So some of you may select a room and then decide you want to explore room changes. Folks will not be able to see the room change option until after you have completed the grad guard information and made your meal plan selection. We do this intentionally because we need you to sign up for a meal plan. Roommate pairs that have successfully selected a room together initially may change their room together. Now, if you are in a roommate pair and you two do not initially select the same room, you're not going to be able to change rooms together. And so you'll need to coordinate during the second person's room selection time slot to pick a room with 2 out of 2 spaces available. And an important thing for you to note when considering room changes, that while browsing for available rooms, you will remain in your assigned room until you select and confirm a new space. So you can shop around and check out options. But it is important to note that once you confirm your room change, your old space will become available for other people to choose. And our team is not always able to put you back into that original room. So the system is live, and it's just like picking concert tickets. You know, if you give those up, then someone else can choose your seats. So let's talk a little bit about housing contracts. After the entire online room selection process is complete, our team will shut it all down, do some preparation, and then email you your official housing contract on June 26th, 2024. And you will have a full week to decide, do you want to keep your contract or do you want to cancel? And so it will become legally binding on July 3rd, and you can cancel up until July 3rd. No questions asked, no financial penalty. After July 3rd, there are only certain criteria under which we will allow you to be released from your housing contract without a penalty. And we've got a website about that, so we can answer any questions you might have about cancellation once you reach that period. Just watch your email for the contract to come through. And
All right, I am back to talk through some frequently asked questions for all of us. So the first one is, my room was assigned for me. Do I still need to log in? And the answer is yes. All students need to log in during their room selection time slot to go through the GradGuard pages, pick a meal plan, and select loft configuration. So we talked about a lot of groups that this applies to already. So if you're in honors or LLC, or maybe you have an ADA assignment, but don't forget there are a number of you who are in a roommate group who the roommate is going to make the assignment for your group. The other person still needs to log in and complete these steps. Another question that you maybe weren't thinking of yet, but we want it to be on your mind. What if you don't get the room or building you're hoping for? And again, we recommend that you have 8 to 10 locations in mind prior to room selection. And talk with your roommate about options so that you've got those alternate plans set. Coming in with just 1 or 2 options, that is not necessarily a way to set yourself up for success. So being open to different locations and coming with alternative plans are really important. And as Virginia mentioned, room changes are available after you've selected your meal plan and loft configuration. You can, shop around before you finalize that change. But depending on where your room selection time slot falls, there may not be a lot of options available, and you may need to stay with your original selection. So we don't want you to come in expecting disappointment, but we want you to come in expecting to be flexible and to have options available. So you're not having to, come up with a new plan on the spot. Come with that plan already. And then when will you pick your move-in date and time? Because we're doing a lot of picking. Should we do that too? Move-in dates are not going to be available for selection until July 22nd. And the dates that new students can select are August 17, 18, or 19. And then returning students can select August 24 and 25. There will be a whole other webinar, probably with less technical difficulties than tonight's, that goes over all things move in, including what to pack, what to leave at home, what to talk to your roommate about ahead of time, lots of good advice. And then it'll go over how you're going to actually pick your move-in time. So please stay tuned for that. We have a slide about it towards the end with the date and time, so you can put that on your calendar. And I'm going to pass it back to Virginia.
One question that we have been receiving quite a bit about lately is, can I change my roommate? And a thing for everyone to note is that roommate requests are due next week. They are due online May 29th. And so online roommate matching will not be available during the room selection process. You do, however, have the option to leave your roommate group if you decided, you know what, Sam and I are no longer compatible individuals. And that you might want to try to live with Kai. And so if you are hoping to live with a new roommate, what you would do is you would have to talk with that person and select the same room at the same time during their room selection time, or whoever has the later one, to find a room that has 2 openings. So that's the short and sweet on that one. And then coming back to presentations that Elliot was talking about, we are going to be back online Tuesday, July 16th, again at 6:00 p.m. to talk with you all about move-in logistics, what to expect for fall, and give you some more details about how you can pick your move-in date and time. And then we will have a dietary needs webinar that we have pre-recorded, and we will have that uploaded to the orientation page in the next few weeks. So that way, those of you that want a little bit more specific information about getting support for your dietary needs, log in and check that webinar out. Folks really enjoyed it last year. So some important pieces for you all to note as we are going to open up the Q&A for everyone is that our housing team can be reached at housing@uiowa.edu. Our marketplaces and meal plan questions can be routed to our dining team. And then living learning community questions can be answered by our residence education staff, and their contact is all on the screen. If you have questions about orientation, SOAR, becoming a Hawkeye, or your admission status, those can be routed to our orientation team with their very simple email address, orientation@uiowa.edu. So let's get that Q&A going for y'all and see what we can do there. Okay, we have a great team behind the scenes that is going to start responding to questions via the chat and then or the Q&A. And then also too, what we will do is we will also answer broad ones live for you all. So give us just a quick moment to take a look at what you all are interested in learning more about, and we will get you some answers.
All right, I've got our first question for the group. It says, I'll be abroad on vacation and may not be able to make my assigned room selection date and time. What options do I have? It depends a little bit on your situation, but everyone who has a room selection time slot, once you have that time slot begin, you have access to the portal the entire time until it closes.